Mr. Ham. Welcome to another episode of Drinks from Eddie Muller's Noir Bar. Each week I take a chapter from the book Eddie Muller's Noir Bar, Cocktails Inspired by the World of Film Noir, and I talk about the film in that chapter and I make the drink associated with it. Today we are looking at the drink in the film of the same name, The Reckless Moment. Now, The Reckless Moment was released in 1949. It stars Joan Bennett and James Mason. Now, Eddie in the book mentions that Joan Bennett is an actress who probably doesn't get enough due for her work in film noir, and I think I'm right there with him. If you think about film noir, femme fatales, you think about Barbara Stanwyck or Ava Gardner or Lana Turner or Lauren Bacall, any number of actresses, and you may or may not even make it to Joan Bennett, but she does have a really good pedigree in film noir films, including two great ones with Edward G. Robinson, Scarlet Street and Woman in the Window, where she brings middle-aged Edward G. Robinson to his knees. This film, released in 1949, stars Joan Bennett, of course, and James Mason. Now, in this film, she plays more of a suburban housewife. She has two mostly grown children. She has a daughter who is 17 and a son who they never say how old he is, but he's old enough to be driving, so I assume that makes him 16 or so. Her daughter is involved with a much older man. Judging by his looks, I would say he's in his early 40s. And this film opens with her going to see this man, Joan Bennett, going to see this man to tell him that to stop seeing her daughter. And he suggests that he could do that, but he wants some money to do that. She tells him that the relationship's going to stop and she's not going to pay him any money, so go pound sand. She goes home to talk to her daughter. Her daughter does not believe her story because her would-be statutory rapist has called her and gave him his version of it. And basically what happens is that night the daughter and the older man have kind of a clandestine meeting in the boathouse. They live up right on the beach, and fight. And when he reveals that he wants to stay with her but he could use some extra money, she gets upset. They have a fight. She clonks him on the head, and as often happens, he stumbles off and goes somewhere and falls in the water and dies. This leaves Joan Bennett to find him the next morning, and she does what a good mother would do in such a situation. She drags off the body in a boat and dumps it in the swamp. All would be fine with this, except for there is kind of a paper trail leading back to from the guy who was killed, who died. Actually, probably wasn't killed, at least by production standards, tweaking it slightly. Not necessarily killed. He got hurt and then killed himself. Anyway, there's a trail leading back to them, which is where James Mason comes in. And James Mason is the collector for a loan shark that the older gentleman was owed money to. And he is very smitten with Joan Bennett, and I can see why, because she's gorgeous. What I don't necessarily see is that he's a collector for a loan shark, and he kind of forgets all that for the rest of the movie. But, you know, it's one of those things in a film noir. You kind of just go with it and say it's okay. Joan Bennett is very good in there. She has good chemistry with James Mason, who she is not married to. Her, obviously, because he's a loan shark collector and she doesn't know anything about that. Her husband is away on business in Berlin, so he can't help out. And most of the film involves her trying to protect her family from the scandal of the truth coming out about this. It's very well done. I mean, she spends a lot of time trying to keep things from her son who's old enough to figure things out, her daughter who's definitely old enough to figure things out, the maid who seems pretty good, and African American maid who seems pretty good and loyal to her employer, but she wants to keep her in the dark, and I think it's her father-in-law who lives with them, so she's trying to keep him away from all this, all in very tight proximity, all when all this stuff is going on, and that's kind of where the movie generates its energy. Um, in a very broad sense of the word, it's probably a Christmas movie because at one point she does have a Christmas tree tied to her through the hood of her car, and apparently the new definition of a Christmas movie is anything that takes place at Christmas qualifies. So in this respect, it does. Hence the hat. So the drink, the Joan Bennett, is kind of a tweak that Eddie Muller made on an existing Joan Bennett drink that had some ingredients that were, I think it was from a bar called Sloppy Joe's in Havana, with a drink that, with a liqueur that you just can't find anywhere. So Eddie Muller tweaked it a little bit to make it into more of an upgraded Joan Bennett, and we'll be having that when we come back. So I hope you stick around for that. Thanks a lot. And we are back. So we're going to make the Joan Bennett. Okay, we're going to start by loading up our mixing, our shaker, rather, with some ice. Come on. Okay, and we're going to start with 2 ounces of rum. Okay, and 1 ounce of Curacao, which is an orange liqueur if you're just joining this series. And follow that with 2 ounces of pineapple juice. Sorry I'm using canned, but considering the way money's been going this holiday season, we're going to do with what we do. Okay, we're going to give that a good shake. Okay. Actually, let's load up our glass. This is going in a large old-fashioned glass. I do not have a Christmas-themed one that isn't plastic, so we're just going to go with that. And we're going to strain this into the old-fashioned glass. And top with club soda, which I live in San Diego, so we always have access to Mexican brands of sodas, and they have a pretty nice mineral water that we get fairly easily here that I'm now spilling all over the bar. And very foamy. And we're going to see if I can put in the garnish, which would be a pineapple, and it said a brandied cherry, but I couldn't find brandied cherries. I could find bourbon cherries, so I'm going to go with that. I didn't quite expect this much foam on it. I guess my my club soda may have been a little shaken. Oh, but that is really nice. Kind of, it seems like it might be a better warm weather drink, but fortunately I'm in San Diego, so it's probably like 70 degrees today in the sunshine, so not too shabby. So we have the Joan Bennett. So, from a booth in the back of Eddie Muller's Noir Bar, I'm going to say cheers, and I hope you join me next time. Thanks a lot for showing up.